So this is what we have seen in the last classes. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
And the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is what we have seen in the last meet. I think that lemma. Okay, this lemma. So eigenfunction yx and ψx corresponding to distinct eigenvalues lambda 1 and lambda 2 of homogeneous equations. We have seen equation 1 and equation 2 and its the integral equation and its transpose equation, and then we proved that those are orthogonal. So orthogonal means the inner product of two functions is 0, and in this case the inner product is defined to be integral of yx into ψx, and that we have to show that this is equals to 0. We proceeded with some manipulations and we got this. You got the answer for this? Why? Anyone? In this case I have kxt, and in this case I have ktx, psi t, psi x, yt, yx. So in short, when you write this equals to 0, you are saying that both the integrals are same. Here lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 1, lambda 2 are both are there. So in short, you are saying that this integral is same as this integral. That you check. And then this was equals to 0, that means your left hand side was equals to 0. Lambda 1 and lambda 2 are distinct, that means your integral is 0. And then we shown that y of x and psi of x are two orthogonal functions. And then another next lemma I have given, that the necessary and sufficient condition for equation 1, that is this y of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral kxt yt dt, to have a solution for lambda equals to lambda 0. This is the root of your equation, that d lambda equals to 0, and the condition is that fx be orthogonal to r eigenfunctions psi 0I of the transpose equation, and this is your transpose equation, and this is what you have to prove. So for that you should know what is necessary condition and what is sufficient condition. That's what I told you to check. So let me prove this for you. Now let us suppose that this equation 1, let me write that. Let us suppose that equation 1 has solution. Necessary and sufficient means it is as good as its if and only if statement. So you assume that equation 1 has a solution y of x for lambda equals to lambda 0 or lambda naught, and consider this psi 0I, that's what we have seen in the last lemma. Psi 0I of x is equals to lambda 0 integral a to b ktx is your transpose equation, ktx psi 0I of t dt, right? This is your transpose equation and eigenfunction, and equation 1 was this y of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral from a to b kxt yt dt. Alright, now you consider what you have to show now here. We have assumed that this equation 1 has a solution, and you have to show that fx is orthogonal to all psi 0I of x. This is what you have to show. You assume that it has a solution for lambda equals to lambda 0. You have to show that fx is orthogonal to r eigenfunctions psi 0I of x. Alright, so to show that inner product of f or fx with the psi 0I of x, I should not write this x, that's okay, 0 for all I from 1 to up to this is what you have to show. That means you have to show that the integral, that is integral a to b fx psi 0 I of x dx equals to 0 for all I from 1 to r. This is what you have to show. Clear? So start with your left hand side and do some manipulations, do some settings over there. So let us start with your left hand side. Integral a to b fx psi 0 I of x dx is equals to, now psi 0 I you already have this. Let me put some equation, or let me. So psi 0 I of x is nothing but this equation, right? So put that psi 0 I values in this integral. So what you will have, let me write down, it is a bigger expression, equals to integral a to b fx, and then you can put for psi 0 or you can put for f also. Ultimately your aim is to show that this integral is 0. Alright, so what we can do is it feels better to put for f. You put for f, because psi 0's will be there, that's what you wanted. You put for f, and your f from equation 1, your f is nothing but y of x minus lambda times integral from equation 1. So y of x minus lambda integral a to b kxt yt dt, then this dx. I can write here from 1. I repeat, from equation 1, that is from this equation, you write fx. Fx is nothing but y minus integral, and that's what we have taken and substituted for f. Psi 0 I is already kept like that only. So this is equals to, open the bracket, integral a to b psi 0 I of x yx dx minus this lambda integral a to b, then we have psi 0 I of x, then we have this integral a to b kxt yt dt. This is your integral, and answer of this you integrate with respect to x there, dx. Clear? You have just opened the brackets and you have written it properly, that's all. This is same as, keep this as it is, a to b psi 0 I of x y of x dx minus, you try to rewrite this properly. There is something called as change of order of integration. Double integrals, you change the order, and it is not directly straightforward that you change the order. There are some methods for that we can discuss if it is required. So when you change the order, it will be lambda integral a to b what should I do? Let me write directly. You change the order. Change the order means this integral is with respect to t, and then this integral is with respect to x. If you want, you can take this psi 0 I inside this integral, because you are integrating with respect to t, so this x function will be constant over there. So we will have integral a to b something dt dx, and these limits are for x and these limits are for t. So you change the order of integration, you check what are the procedures required. There are described methods are there. So for that Let me write after changing the order like this: y of t, let me put that lambda inside, lambda integral a to b kxt psi 0 I of x dx dt. This by changing order of integration. Clear? And then almost you are done. Let me write here itself. This is equals to, this is as it is, integral a to b psi 0 I of x y of x dx minus this integral a to b yt is there, and this bracket is nothing but your psi 0 I of x, this equation, right? So I can put up this entire bracket as psi 0 I of t, not x. It will be t, you are integrating with respect to x, so it will be a function of t, I of t dt. And since the variable of integration is a dummy variable, both the integrals are same, and this will be equals to 0. And this implies fx is orthogonal to psi 0 I of x I from 1 to up to r. This is one way in the sense, in the if and only statement, this is the one part. Another part, we assume that this fx is orthogonal to this r eigenfunctions and show that equation 1 has a solution for lambda equals to lambda 0. It is just a simple implication. Conversely, let us suppose that fx is orthogonal to r eigenfunctions to the psi 0 I of x I is from 1 to up to r of equation 2. So we assume that your fx is orthogonal to r eigenfunctions of this transpose equation 2. So I have not written the equation 2 again. That is, the meaning of this is, that is, inner product of fx with psi 0 I of x is 0 for I equals to 1 to up to r. And if this is the case, this implies inhomogeneous system of equation, this is what we have done in the last minutes, has only n minus r independent equations. When we got the system of equations, if this is equals to 0, it implies the system of equations has only n minus r independent equations. And if it has n minus r independent equation, that means you relate that to the rank of the matrix. Rank of this matrix I minus lambda a, that we have denoted by p, is same as n minus r. And if it is these things, So we can say the system of equations you have to check. System is solvable. Solvable means you can get the solution for the system. Solvable, what I have written there, solvable. And since you can solvable, and if you can solve that system of equation, that means you are finding the values of ci's, and if you got the values of ci, you take those values of ci and put in your equation that y of x is equals to fx plus those ci is there, and that means you have a solution. And that's what we have to prove. We assume that this fx is orthogonal to this eigenfunctions, and then after implications we got system is solvable, and hence we can say that equation 1 has solution. This is what we have to prove. We assume that this fx is orthogonal to those eigenfunctions, and we proved that the system has the solution. How to get the system? You check. That is from equation, I don't know what equation now. Anyways, you check that. You have y of x is equals to fx plus something something, wherein you put the values of ci's, and when you put the values of ci's, you get the solution over there. Right? Any problem? Audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me take next lemma if you don't have any problem, and ultimately we will write the solution. I mean theorem, alternative theorem. So lemma 3 says, this is very simple to prove. Difference of any, what I have written, difference of any two solutions of equation 1 is solution of the corresponding homogeneous equation. Now in this case what you have to show is your equation 1. Let me write the equation 1 for you. Here equation 1 is y of x is equals to fx plus a lambda integral a to b kxt y of t dt. This is your equation 1. Now you have to show that if you have two solutions, say y1 and y2 for this equation, then when you take a difference, it is the solution of its corresponding, that means corresponding homogeneous means this fx is not equals to 0, I mean fx is equals to 0, and then whatever difference you have, it is a solution of that corresponding homogeneous equation. That is what you have to prove. It's a very simple thing to write also. Now in this case what you do is you consider two equations, I mean two solutions. So let us take y1 y2. So let y1 of x and y2 of x be solutions of equation 1. That means this y1 will satisfy equation 1 and y2 will satisfy equation 1. So this implies y1 of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral a to b kxt y1t dt, and again y2 will satisfy this equation, the given integral equation. So y2 of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral a to b kxt y2t dt. Now from this what I want to show is the difference of any two solutions. That means when you take a difference of this, you have to get the solution for homogeneous equation. So it is over. Okay, so we take a difference. So here is it. If you want, we can mark these equations. Equation something, say, what should I write? I and double I 1 2. So you subtract 1 and 2, or 1 from 2 or 2 from 1, doesn't matter actually. So when you subtract, you will have y1 of x minus y2 of x is equals to, fx will cancel out, this lambda you can take common, then integral common, kxt is common, and then you will have difference in that y1 minus y2. So this equation you will get lambda integral a to b kxt y1 of t minus y2 of t dt. And if I write y1 minus y2 as phi, this implies phi of x is equals to lambda integral a to b k xt phi of t dt, where is phi is nothing but y1 of x minus y2 of x. And if you have seen here, if you noticed here, this phi, that is nothing but the difference of two solutions, is the solution of the corresponding homogeneous equation. That means if I replace this phi by y, I will have a corresponding homogeneous equation, and then the particular value of y, that is y1 minus y2, when I substitute over here, I will get this equation, and that is the solution. So we can write here, there is therefore difference of any two solutions of equation 1 is also a solution of the corresponding homogeneous equation. This is what you had to prove. Alright, so the lemma was the difference of any two solutions of equation 1, that is this equation, is also the solution of corresponding homogeneous equation. That means when you remove this fx, you will have a homogeneous equation, and the difference of y1 and y2 should be the solution of the corresponding homogeneous system, or rather I should say a corresponding homogeneous equation. So with these lemmas, what we have proved is this theorem called Fredholm alternative theorem. The proof of this is done with lemmas, so you can write the proof on your own. So the statement, let me write: either the Fredholm integral equation y of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral a to b kxt y of t dt, that is equation 1, with fixed lambda possesses, it should be double s, possesses one and only one solution, that means unique solution, one and only one solution. You can write unique solution y of x for arbitrary L2. You should know what is L2 function. Anybody? Anyone?
L2, no sir.
Functional started?
Only introduction, sir, of matrix with a linear algebra.
Okay, you will come to know about L2 functions. Now L2 function is a class of functions wherein when you have an integral, its square should be finite, that means it is integrable something. Those properties will come to know. Or rather, if I want to say something, it will be like this function f belongs to L2 class, then integral, when you take this fx square from whatever L2 AB you can say, this should be finite. On this class you can define, there is something called as inner product. On that class you can define something called as norm. Then you can see whether it's complete. If it is complete with under inner product, then it's called Hilbert space, and if it is complete on this norm, it is called Banach space. All these things you will learn in functional, so let me not go on in that. So just check what is this L2 functions. Yes.
LP and L infinity, LP, L infinity, those.
Exactly. LP means those raised to p should be finite. On that you can define distance. You can define this norm of f to be, if I am not wrong, integral a to b or whatever integral you have, something say fx raised to p, then dx whole raised to 1 upon p, something like this, right? All these norms will be defined. You can check on these functional things. So I'm writing here L2 here. You may use these notations, L raised to p, L1, L2. So capital L means for functions, and again you can define small l, small lp. This is a sequence space, right? Anyways, you will come to know about that in your functional other course. So for the timing, remember that this L2 means those are square integrable functions. So L2 function, arbitrary L2 function fx, and this you check. What is the meaning of kxt is L2 function? This you check, right? No point in talking now. So you check what is the meaning of fx is L2 function and kxt. Now here you have a function of two variables. So kxt is L2 function, that you have to check. Clear? In particular, your solution yx will be 0 when your function fx is identical equal to 0. That means when you have a homogeneous integral equation, then you will have a unique solution, and that is nothing but a zero solution. That we already seen. If you have a homogeneous system, that means this fx is not there. There is yx here and there is integral with yx. So if yx is equals to 0, it will satisfy equation 1 without this fx, and it's a solution. And then here you are saying that it's a unique solution, that means it should have only 0 solution. So either this or the homogeneous equation y of x is equals to lambda integral from a to b kxt yt dt. Let me go on the next page. Possesses finite number of R linearly independent solutions y0i of x I from 1 to up to R. Right. So in the first case, that means in the first case, the transpose in homogeneous system or equation, I can say psi of x is equals to fx plus lambda integral a to b ktx psi t dt also has a unique solution. So in the first case, when these conditions are satisfied, when you have a unique solution for your equation 1, the corresponding transpose equation also has a unique solution. In second case, the transpose homogeneous equation homogeneous means that fx is not there, so psi x is equals to lambda integral a to b t xt transpose, so k tx psi t dt also has R linearly independent solutions. We write this as I0i of x I from 1 to R. Right. So the non-homogeneous or inhomogeneous equation 1 has solution corresponding to eigenvalue lambda equals to lambda 0 if and only if fx satisfy R conditions, this is the lemma what you have proved. F psi 0 I of x is equals to 0 I from 1 to R. This is the lemma. It has a solution lambda equals to lambda 0 if and only if fx is equals to this what we have proved. In this case, solution of equation 1 is determined only up to the additive linear combination so linear means it's additive linear combination that R some constant Ci psi 0 I of x, right? The proof of this is already done. If you want to have some other proof, you can check the other books. Clear?
Sir.
Right, so still we have some time. I can apply some method for this. Only one problem I'll solve. You just approximate the solution. I'll directly take the example. Consider the following example. Let us take this integral equation. Y of x is equals to e raised to x minus x minus integral 0 to 1 x into e raised to xt minus 1 y of t dt. Now in this case, the kernel kxt is nothing but x into e raised to xt. I'll change this. X into e raised to xt no, this way only. X into e raised to xt minus 1. Correct. Now you approximate it. So for that matter, what you do is, this is equals to, I'll write here, this is equals to x is there. You write the series for e raised to xt or e raised to x. By chance anyone knows what is the series? Maclaurin's, Taylor's, if you heard of power series. Power series for e raised to x. What is the power series of e raised to x, or power series of sin x, cos x, tan x, cot x? Check those. So, no, you are not audible. Who was trying to speak? I don't know. Not audible.
No, sir, I was thinking. I was going to answer, but I forgot.
It's okay. So e raised to x is summation of e raised to x upon x factorial, that n factorial, those things are there. So let me write the series for you. So this is 1 plus xt plus xt whole square upon 2 factorial, that is x raised to n upon n factorial, summation n from 0 to infinity x raised to n upon n factorial is the power series for a raised to x. So in this case it's 1 xt the whole square upon 2 factorial plus, let me write one more term, xt cube upon 3 factorial and so on, and then the last term is minus 1 here. So this is same as is x, 1 and minus 1 cancel out and you will have xt plus x square t square upon 2 plus x cube t cube upon 3 into 2 is 6 and so on. So you approximately take only few terms. So approximately you take only 3 terms. So it is x square t plus x cube t square upon 2 plus x raised to 4, you multiply this x inside the bracket, x raised to 4 t cube upon 6, that's all, you write this approximately. So when you solve this integral equation using this kernel, you will have an approximate solution but not the exact solution, because in this kernel the remaining terms, which are infinitely many terms, you are not using those. So you are approximating your kernel to few terms and then you are finding the solution, so you will have a approximate solution. Clear? Now in this case you take your kernel to be this with only 3 terms. So let kxt to be this kernel, x square t plus x cube t square by 2 plus x raised to 4 t cube by 6. This was approximately. So you can say this integral equation 1, if you want you can write this as 1. So you can say equation 1 is integral equation or Fredholm integral equation with separable kernel, which we have approximated. We have taken only 3 terms here. So equation 1 is a Fredholm integral equation with separable kernel, and you can apply your method what we have discussed in this meets. So in this case, when you use this approximate method, you will have a separable kernel, and for that you have something called as AIX and BITs. So in this case, your A1 of x will be x square. Not necessarily, you can shift because it's addition. I can write this term, second term first term third, doesn't matter. So this order is not so important over there. So A1x is x square, B1t is t, then A2x is x cube, B2t is, either you can take this 2 with x cube or you can take that 2 with this t function. It all depends on your calculation. And this is x raised to 4, again you can take that 6 with 4 with adjustments, doesn't matter, is t cube by 6, right? And then you write your equation 1, follow the same procedure what you have followed last time. This you can write the solution. I'll write directly the steps. You can solve the equation. The solution, after opening the brackets and writing the CIs, is given by your y of x is same there, is equals to e raised to x minus x, minus, you open the brackets and check the signs and all, x square c1 plus x cube c2 plus x raised to 4 c3. This is by writing that ci's, fi's and eij's. Let me write for you. You have to write all the procedures there. Ci is nothing but integral 0 to 1 bit y of t dt This is with your notations, not B. We have Fi's as integral 0 to 1 bit ft dt. Then we have something called as Aij as integral 0 to 1 bit ajt dt. By using this and your function f, in this case let me write that f also. Let your fx is nothing but e raised to x minus x, right? Now using this, calculate the values of this f1, f2, f3, then c1, c2, c3. That's what you have to get by using those fi's by solving the system of equations. And then you have to find the values of Aij from 1 to 3. That means a11, a12, a13, a21, a22, a23, a31, a32, a33. Get that, write the system of equations, solve the system of equation, and then you write your solution. So from this you calculate the values and let me know the values. Again it's over. So you can start solving that and tell me the values of all those coefficients. We get, I am taking the values from you, calculating. We get, find the values, find the value of f1, f2, f3, get the value of a11, a12, a13, a21, a22, a23, a31, a32, a33. Find the values, tell the values. You are not audible. Or you take the values what we have calculated. This may be with some errors. f1 is 2 by 3, f2 is 4e minus 9 upon 8, f3 is 29 minus 10e upon 30. You may get some errors in this. This is 1 by 4, a12 is 1 by 5, a13 is 1 by 6, then a21 is 1 by 10, a22 is 1 upon 12, a23 1 by 14, 1 by 36, 1 by 42, 1 upon 48. You can cross verify this. And with this AIs and FIs, you will have a system of equation. System of equation is that AIJs, CIJs, all those things. You can verify this, you check. 5 by 4 C1 plus 1 upon 5 C2 plus 1 upon 6 C3 is equals to minus 2 upon 3 1 upon 5 C1 plus 13 by 6 C2 plus 1 upon 7 C3 is equals to 9 upon 4 minus E 1 upon 6 C1 plus 1 upon 7 C2 plus 41 upon 8 C3 is equals to 2E minus 29 upon 5. We verify this, and this is a system of 3 equations, 3 unknowns. To check the methods to solve this, and solving this system of equations, you will get, solving this system, we get C1 is equals to something, C2 equals to something, C3 is equals to something. Here approximately you will have minus 0.5010, this is minus 0.1671, and here it will be minus 0.0422. With this C1, C2, C3, you can write the solution. Solution is given by, it is same, y of x is equals to fx, that is e raised to x, that is minus x minus those ci's, so minus 0.5010 x square. Check the signs. This again, these values may be with some errors, you verify them. X cube minus 0.0422 x is to 4. And again we say that this is just an approximate solution, not the exact solution, because you have not used all the terms of the kernel. We have used only first 3 terms of that infinite series. There are infinitely many terms in the expansion. So this will be your approximate solution, not the exact solution. Now with this you can check, you verify or you find the values, check what is y at 0, find the value. You can check what is y at 0.5, you can check what is y at 1, right? And I'll give a question over here for your writings. Check if y of x is equals to 1 is the solution of above integral equation. So first you get or verify all those values of aij's, bij's,cij's, whatever involved in this. You solve this system, you check the values of this c1, c2, c3, and then you find the value of y at 0, y at 0.5, y at 1, and then you check with usual methods whether y of x equals to 1 is the solution of given integral equation or not. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.